Welcome! I'm Parker.
And I'm Emily.
And as they say in hockey,
let's do that hockey.
Welcome to the very first episode of our hockey podcast.
We don't know what we're doing, but we're excited to be here.
We have compiled a list of things that we want to talk about. We're going to start with pre-playoffs. That's why we're starting right now, because the playoffs are about to happen soon.
Things are getting intense. Things are firing up.
And we will be talking about whatever we want to talk about. This is our podcast. We can do whatever we want. So what we wanted to do is have each of us have our own kind of segments that we're going to do on a weekly basis, and then have a number of things that we'll talk about depending on kind of what's going on.
We've got 4 segments that we think that we're going to do every time. We've got one that's specifically for Parker, one that's specifically for me, and then 2 that we're going to kind of tackle together.
Mm-hmm. The one that I'm doing, I'm calling King of the Crease. I'll be doing a goalie highlight every week, just picking a goalie who I think has either had a super dominant season, made some incredible saves of the week, just kind of whatever goalie I think should be highlighted.
And one of the things that I really wanted to do when we started this podcast was learn more about the players that are not on the team that I already know. So I'm doing a segment called Pucking Obsessed, where I just do a player deep dive focused on one player each week.
And then some other things that we might talk about, we're going to do weekly wraps, checking in on the standings, seeing how teams are doing, if there's any notable games played. Then we've also got Stick Happens, which is going to be an injury report. And then Rinkside or Off Ice, which might maybe talking about social media or kind of the other side of hockey that's not actually on the ice.
But that one might not happen every time because some things happen on social media, and sometimes social media is pretty calm.
Okay, so before we get started today, since this is the first episode, we kind of wanted to introduce ourselves and our hockey background. Like I said, my name is Parker. I've been a Carolina Hurricanes fan since I was born. I was going to Canes games as a baby. My personal favorite player is number 31 for the Canes, Frederik Andersen. Don't hate on me. He's doing good, I swear. Other teams that I really like, my favorite PWHL team is the Boston Fleet. Once again, number 31, Aerin Frankel. I love you so much. Please message me on Instagram. And my second favorite team that's not it's the Seattle Kraken, I'd say. I think that they're a really fun team, and they got a female coach, which I really appreciate.
Alright, as I also said, my name is Emily. I've been attending games, since I was probably 10, that I remember, but I would say that I became a real hockey fan about 2 or 3 years ago. I started really paying attention. I have 2 or 3 favorite players on the Canes. I can't really choose between them a lot of the time, which would be number 24, Seth Jarvis, my goalie, number 52, Pyotr Kochetkov, he's my darling, and then I've become really fond of Alexander Nikishin recently. I love the Hurricanes. My PWHL team is also the Boston Fleet because after the Olympics, holy crap, Aerin Frankel is a monster. And then I would say that the Sharks social media team is doing a fantastic job marketing them because just randomly seeing videos around, I definitely like them. And of course, you can't hate Sidney Crosby. That's just the truth of the matter. And then we've also got our editor here who would like to introduce themselves.
And producer, and unpaid intern, and social media manager, and every other single role that needs fulfilling, not by these 2.
We're very thankful.
Yes, I know. I'm Theo. I am honestly not the biggest hockey fan on my own. I do appreciate the sport. Emily started taking me to games, I'd say probably late 2024. I didn't really get into it until playoffs 2025. I think that's when I finally realized, this is kind of fun. I kind of enjoy doing this. I am here for the more technical side of things. I do like the Canes. My favorite player is number 20, Sebastian Aho, mainly because he's one of the 3 players whose jersey number I can name off the top of my head. Happy to be here. Happy to help.
Now, to start things off, considering how much we've already been talking about the Boston Fleet, I'm going to start with my King of the Crease segment. For this week, I ended up giving it to Aerin Frankel because she's just had such an entirely dominant hockey career. Not even just this season. So the way I'm going to structure this is I'm going to go over some basic intro, talk about how they got into hockey, their college career, any kind of international career, and then their professionals, as well as any other fun facts about them, or any kind of awards they've won. So to start off, Aerin Frankel is 5'5", born May 24th, 1999 in New York. She currently plays for the Boston Fleet, and she played for the USA Olympic hockey team. She ended up getting the nickname the Green Monster, which I only ended up recently learning was from a wall in a major baseball league stadium. Didn't know that's where that came from, but you know what? Okay. Now, for her early childhood, she started playing hockey at 4 years old, and I thought this was really cute. She started playing hockey at 4 years old, but she started playing goalie at 9. The only reason she started playing in goal is because she didn't want to have to get off of the ice during shift changes.
She's genuinely so real for that.
I think that's really fun. So she ended up going to a Minnesota boarding school in her sophomore year of high school. Up until then, she was playing on men's teams because that's actually what a lot of women hockey players do who plan on going professional. They'll end up playing on boys' teams, either like recreationally or with their middle and high school, things like that. But when she went to her boarding school in Minnesota, she ended up playing on a women's team. They won 3 national hockey titles. She had 39 shutouts in 106 games, that's an incredible start, even in high school. Then, moving on, she went to college and played for Northeastern on the Huskies. She was a major in criminal justice and psychology, which I thought was kind of cool. Another interesting fact is that she ended up being worried that she wouldn't be recruited because she was only 5'5", and goalies generally have to be kind of big. They got to be an imposing presence so that way they can defend a goal. 5'5" is a little short for a goalie, but she's incredible. She ended up being recruited by Northeastern, and it absolutely paid off. In her freshman year, she had a .934 save percentage. Like I was saying, sophomore year on the Huskies, phenomenal again. They got their second title because not all thanks to Aerin Frankel. Of course, it was a dominant team that year, but they couldn't have done it without such a strong goalie. Same things can be said for senior year and sophomore year. Senior year, she was actually the alternative captain for her team. Led Northeastern to a 22-win, 2-loss, 1 overtime loss, which is a season, which is like a record in the entire school, which is, once again, insane. She had 27 career shutouts in college, and she actually ended up playing for a 5th season for her college hockey team, which she had another dominant season. This was even better than the other one, to the .956 save percentage, which just, once again, that's absolutely insane. She ended up concluding her college career holding Northeastern's program records. She had the records for minutes on ice, games played, goals against average, save percentage, shutouts, and wins. Which, oh my gosh, that's just such a large number of awards to just be leaving college with. That's before she even ended up joining the PWHL or playing for the Olympics or anything like that. She won Hockey East Co-Player of the Year alongside Alina Muller in 2021, which I think is really funny.
Her name is pronounced Mueller.
Mueller, oh my gosh, my bad. Against Alina Mueller, which I think is really funny since, they're teammates now. Sorry. I'm pulling up stats.
Fine. The stats that we had for this episode are now incorrect because she just went and played a game from what we researched before we did this, and she got another shutout with the Boston Fleet because she's absolutely on fire right now, and I really think that she needs to be paid more, but that's a completely separate matter that we probably shouldn't get into right now.
She's now went from 6 shutouts this season to 7 shutouts this season. Let's go. I love you, Aerin Frankel. 16 wins for the Boston Fleet this season. But like I said, we're going to look at the Olympics first. So she was at the 2026 Olympics. She posted a 5-win record, including a .39 goals against average. Which, once again, that's just absolutely insane. She ended up facing 99 shots on goal, I believe. Yes. Only 2 of them went in for the entire tournament. She had 3 separate shutout games.
Which is not counted in the shutouts that were the 7 shutouts that we just mentioned, not counting the Olympic ones. That is completely separate, only for the PWHL, only for the Boston Fleet. It's insane.
So now she's at 10 shutouts just this hockey season, if that makes sense. She ended up helping lead the U.S. women's team to Olympic gold, which
We're
is
all
one-
so proud of them. Oh my goodness.
Let's go women's team. They're an insanely dominant team. I think they've won at the Olympics a lot, right?
I'm pretty sure they have, yeah.
And once again, while dominating at the Olympics, she was also making sure to update her Caesar salad Instagram channel.
We love, I think it's Pain by Romaine?
I think so, yeah.
Something like that? I don't know. It rhymes, it's cutie.
Now, moving on to the Professional Women's League itself, she ended up signing with Boston at the start of the PWHL in 2023. She was one of the first 3 players signed for the team, beside Megan Keller and Hillary Knight.
Do you know if when they did the expansions teams, she was one of the people that they had as a protected player, or do you know that she just didn't get drafted?
I don't. Let me check. Yeah, she was one of the protected players during the expansion draft, which, I mean, makes sense. If you have an extremely dominant player, a goalie who plays well with the team, you're going to want to keep him around. She actually ended up signing an additional extension with the Boston Fleet. I think the first one was 3 years, but now she's playing up until 2027-2028 season. That's when her contract ends.
Okay, so exciting.
She ended up posting I believe this is in 2023, 8 wins, 6 losses, and 2 overtime losses in 18 games. Boston wasn't a very good team to start with. They're doing a lot better now. I think they're
They are top of the standings right now.
But even with all of those losses, she had a .929 save percentage, which once again, that's really good. Only 2 goals against average, and was just one of 3 goaltenders across the league to play over 1,000 minutes in that season.
Which sounds like so many minutes. I know that a hockey game is 60 minutes, and so it adds up fast, but genuinely sounds like too much.
And then in the 2024 playoffs, which this was same season I think, or maybe the next one, she ended up setting a record in the PWHL for goals saved. She faced 53 shots on goal in game 1, and she only let 1 in the entire game. And this record ended up being broken a few days later when she made 57 saves in the next game and only let 1 of them in again. She's just made 142 saves while allowing in just 4 goals in the entire playoff season, which is just once again insane. She's one of the best goaltenders just in hockey right now, not just in the women's league.
I would pay money to see her have a goalie battle with the big names like Vasilevsky, them. I forgot all the goalies immediately, guys.
No, I genuinely think...
Shesterkin. There's another one.
I genuinely think that if there's any PWHL goalie to be tried for the actual NHL, because that's allowed, look into it. You can have women playing on the NHL, it just doesn't end up happening. It should be Aerin Frankel. I would at least love to see her in some kind of off-season games, when they're just kind of playing for fun to see.
The only woman who ever actually ended up playing on an NHL team was in, I believe, the mid-90s. She was playing for the Tampa Bay Lightning, but she never played an actual regular season game. She only played a preseason game, which, I mean, completely unfair. But also, she didn't do so hot, I will admit. But that does not mean that women are worse.
Now, last thing I'm going to comment on, once again, her nickname. Boston fans and the media gave her the nickname the Green Monster after the iconic 37-foot, 2-inch left field wall at Fenway Park.
Which I'm assuming it got its name from the fact that it is so tall, but I did Google it to see why it was called the Green Monster, and Google wasn't helpful, and neither really was Reddit, so I'm a little bit lost, but we'll take it.
My guess is just because it's a large green wall, which, I mean, Aerin Frankel's not large, but she's definitely the green wall in the Boston net. She's just a phenomenal goalie, and I think that's where I want to end things off right now. She's had such a dominant season, now at, 16 wins, 7 shutouts, .954 save percentage, just a phenomenal goalie all around. I love her so much.
And a gold medalist at 26 years old. Alrighty. Now, despite the fact that I said that mine was a deep dive, Parker's turned out to be much more of a deep dive this episode. It may change when she's slightly less passionate about the goalie, but Aerin Frankel is special.
No, she's just my absolute favorite. I had to start off like strong. I had to bring out literally all of the stats about her entire career. That nothing. She deserves nothing less.
So the intention of this segment is for me to learn more and hopefully help other people learn more about the players that are not on their own team. So despite every wish in me that wanted to expand upon numerous Canes players, I decided that I had to not show my bias and I had to choose someone from a different team. And what better team to pick from than the Buffalo Sabres right now? Because what is happening since like mid-November, their complete turnaround from the bottom of the Eastern Conference to basically tied for first, second because they've got an extra game is absolutely wild. And so the player that we're focusing on today is Rasmus Dahlin. We're going to start each of these with me just kind of telling you what I knew about the player before I did this research, which for Dahlin was very little. I knew that he was picked one pick above Andrei Svechnikov, but I couldn't actually remember which pick Svechi was. I knew that he was wicked blonde. He is like the yellow blonde. It's a little startling. I'm not gonna lie to you. And then I knew that he was a Buffalo Sabre, obviously.
Has he been on the Buffalo Sabres his entire career?
He has. He has been on the Buffalo Sabres his entire career. The first thing that I did was I kind of just looked at his general NHL page, and I learned quite a few things there. I learned that he is not a forward like I assumed he was. I had seen him at the game that we went to. But I wasn't actually paying attention to what he was doing. I kind of just knew his name. I knew what Dahlin looked like spelled on a jersey.
I'm going to be so serious. The only Sabres player I paid attention to at that game was Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Which is really what you should be doing because Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is incredible.
Did the camera shut off again?
No, it just does that.
Just does that. Okay, gotcha.
So he was not a forward like I assumed. I knew that Svechnikov was picked decently high. I now know that Svechnikov was the second overall pick in 2018, which was the draft class for the both of them, which means that Dahlin was the first overall pick as a defenseman. Like I said, completely startled me. So I may have gone on a slight rabbit hole here to look at if I was crazy in thinking that defensemen were not normally picked first overall. And I found out that it has happened 16 times since 1963, which is the first time that I assumed that this type of draft had occurred.
Wait, how many years is that?
60, no.
40, 50, like 57. Okay, thank you, lovely editor. 57 years.
So many years. I did do the math. It's about 25% of the time that a defenseman is chosen first overall, which, it did happen this last draft, but still completely odd. There were also, technically there could be 17 if you count Wendell Clark, who was listed as both a defenseman and a left wing. But for the sake of this, we're going to say it was 16 and we're going to say that it was 25%.
He does not count.
He does not count. As I was looking at the draft class, because, I was like, okay, he's first overall. He's a defenseman. Maybe he was up against some random people and not Andrei Svechnikov.
It all comes back to the Canes.
It all comes back to the Canes, okay? Speaking of all coming back to the Canes, there were quite a few names that I recognized on that list. Yes, Barry Kotkaniemi was the third overall pick for the Montreal Canadiens, who was eventually traded to the Canes. Way farther down the list was K'Andre Miller, who is now a Canes player. Also names that I recognize, Joel Farabee, Brady Tkachuk was picked that year. He was lower than...
Editor, give us a boo. We don't have a boo sound effect. Add it in post.
Boo!
Gunshot. Close enough.
Yeah, Brady Tkachuk was picked that time, but he was lower than multiple people, which we're all really happy for. And then down at 7 was Quentin Jerome Hughes, who I know that this is about Rasmus Dahlin, but Quentin Jerome Hughes startled me so much. I had to go on a separate tangent about what the Hughes brothers were named. Luke Hughes got off the best. His middle name is Warren, but poor Ellen must have been on something because Jack ended up with the middle name Rowden, which cannot be
That's
a name.
not a word.
I refuse to believe that that's a name.
And to start with Quentin and then also add Jerome, it's like you wanted your son to be Amish. I'm so
And
sorry.
You have to understand that Quentin was spelled Quintin. It's just a bad spelling
It's
too.
like Quintine.
I'm so sorry, Ellen, but you have to make better choices than this. Back to Dahlin. He's Swedish, which I probably should have guessed given the blonde.
Editor, play stateside. I'm sorry. I can sing it. Kissing my Swedish boy over FaceTime. Oh no.
No, we can spell it up.
Fuck.
I don't know.
Never
It was
mind.
pretty bad.
Editor, cut that out.
Okay. I looked at his scouting report after all of the tangents that I had been on. He was chock full of talent. He was listed as the highest scoring under 18 defenseman in the Swedish Hockey League. He was voted the best defenseman at the 2018 IIHF World Junior Championships, and he attended the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics as the youngest player on the Swedish team. Analysis named him one of 2 players ready in the draft class to just go to the NHL. Was he NHL ready? Yes, he absolutely was.
Though that's not paying off till this year.
Though it's not paying off till this year. However, that's not entirely his fault, I don't believe. Year after year, he is meeting or beating records in the NHL as a point-producing two-way defenseman. He doesn't seem to be slowing down. As I said, Buffalo is having an absurd season, starting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference and working their way up to 96 points.
Sorry, I just had to do a quick Google. Even though he was the youngest male Olympic Swedish hockey player, he once again does not beat Alina, pronounce her last name?
Mueller. She was 14 or 15?
15 when she played in the Olympics for the first time.
And she won a bronze medal doing it.
Sorry, I had to intervene.
You have to know that women
in
are better.
sports. Happy Women's History Month.
Yay! In his last 5 games, Dahlin has registered 2 goals and 3 assists with an average 22:51 time on ice. So, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I was at the last game that Buffalo played in Carolina, and I will say that I was not a super big fan of Dahlin because he was getting real chippy with Svechnikov. He was doing a lot of pushing, and he was definitely trying to start something, and
It was a fun game.
did not appreciate it. Hands off my guys. But it's okay. I respect him now. His fiance just got back from Sweden after a heart transplant, and we're all very happy that she's doing better. And I had a very good time researching him.
That is very interesting. I've literally never heard of that man before, but I'm glad that I have now. I love Swedish hockey players.
Yay, Sweden!
Alrighty, the next thing that we're going to go into is Stick Happens. The order of this might change depending on like what's happening, but right now we kind of need to look at the injuries because when we go into our standings, we're going to do kind of our own personal playoff bracket, and I feel like knowing the injuries before that is kind of a good way to at least do a little bit of critical thinking.
Especially if the team is like missing some of their dominant players. That's definitely going to impact during playoffs when it's so fast paced.
Yeah, speaking of dominant players and dominant teams. So the Buffalo Sabres, as we were just talking about, are missing 4 players. 3 of them are on injured reserve, and 1 of them is listed as day-to-day.
Is your boy fine? The one who just did a dive on? Your boy.
Dahlin? Yeah, no. Dahlin's great.
Okay, just had to double check.
Sorry, referring to Rasmus Dahlin as my boy is so confusing.
Your buddy.
My
Yeah,
buddy,
your close
my
personal
pal.
friend.
My cousin even. Okay, so the other really important teams in the playoff race is the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Montreal Canadiens, the Boston Bruins, Ottawa Senators, like that sort of teams, right? All of them are looking pretty hurt except for the Boston Bruins. They've just got one guy. The Senators and the Islanders are currently in a pretty big playoff battle.
No, it's also Detroit now, because they just won that game. They're tied with the Senators right now.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, no, Detroit's trying to make a comeback.
Okay, so we've got 3 teams who are battling out for the second wild card.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, both the wild card spots are up in the air. It's like a 2-point difference.
It is. The Boston Bruins need to look out too. The Senators missing 5 players, one of them on IR. The rest of them are listed as out. They're missing at least 2 people that are names that I recognize as important. Thomas Chabot and Jake Sanderson, both names that I feel like are pretty important. All of the people that they're missing are defensemen.
Which, I mean, if there's one thing about playoffs is that you can't just have a good goalie. You need reliable, strong defensemen, or else you're not going to be able to make it to 4 wins.
There are currently 2 teams that I believe are completely without injuries, and that is the Nashville Predators and the Vegas Golden Knights, who are both currently in the playoff race. I believe Vegas
has a Pacific Division spot.
And I believe that Nashville is a wild card. Yes, Nashville's a wild card. So they need to keep themselves going well. The Colorado Avalanche only have 1 person injured, and he's been out for, I believe, a while, but he's on IR. And they seem to be doing perfectly fine. The Stars, who are trying to maintain their playoff push,
They have their playoff spot. It's guaranteed now.
they do, but how are they going to do with Mikko Rantanen, Radek Faska, and Tyler Seguin all on IR?
Okay, yeah.
Rupe Hintz is listed as out, and then Sam Steele is listed as day-to-day, which is kind of a lot of guys when you're about to go to playoffs, and a bunch more are probably going to get hurt. We are doing pretty hot. I'm super happy to say that Shane Gostisbehere is now listed as day-to-day. He was skating this morning, which means we're really hoping that he'll be back. I really miss him. He does really great in games. And then my goalie, my darling, my Pyotr Kochetkov, has been on IR since, I want to say, November. But he might be back for the playoffs. He was in the picture day today.
I would love to see him back on the ice, but I'm so scared for Carolina's goaltending right now. We've got PK who's been out for the entire season. Bussy, who he's good, but he hasn't been doing so great since the Olympic break. And of course, Freddie Anderson, he's really touch and go. Some games he'll be absurdly dominant. Others he'll let like the softest pucks in.
But then what could happen is always what happened during last year's playoff, and the reason that we re-signed him is that he absolutely turns into a brick wall. If we could get that Freddie back for the playoffs, I think we're set.
That's the kind of Anderson that we really need for the Carolina. That's the kind of goaltender everybody needs right now.
Yeah. So most teams seem to have about 3 or 4 people injured. However, there's one team that, while they will not be making the playoffs, then you can almost completely guarantee that, knock on wood. The Florida Panthers have like 9 people injured.
Good.
Okay.
The Panthers! I hate the
We
Panthers!
did not want the Panthers in the playoffs again, seeing as what we lost to them twice in the Eastern Conference Finals now.
Yeah. We're real pissed at the Panthers, and they also kind of just suck in general. Either way, they've got 2 people who are listed as day-to-day, one of them being Sam Reinhart. They've got 3 people who are listed as out, and they've got 5 people on injured reserve, including Brad Marchand and their captain, I think, Alexander Barkov. Please fact check me on that.
I got you.
In general, the Wild are in a playoff spot, or holding on to their playoff spot, and they've only got one guy out, Jared Spurgeon, who might also be their captain, but I'm
Check,
not.
You were right about the Panthers.
Yes. Can you look up if Jared Spurgeon is the captain of the Wild? Thank you. But just like in
Jared
general,
Spurgeon.
let's
Is that how you
go.
pronounce that? Spurgeon?
Spurgeon. I don't know.
Okay, like surgeon.
Penguins.
I am a surgeon.
Penguins are holding on to their spot. Crosby is listed as day-to-day. Malkin's out again.
Wait, why is Crosby out again?
Something to do with a game that he just played.
Okay, God, just put that man in an old folks home. I'm so sorry.
He looks so good though.
He
looks so
does.
young. He is so young.
No,
Are you
but
kidding me?
looking
He's
at-
38.
Looking at him and Ovechkin together is like, okay.
You know who else is 38? Brendan Urie. His birthday is April 12th.
Sorry, our editor's a little delusional. Shout out Panic at the Disco and Georgia Ruby Martin.
Yay!
Now, as I was saying, I love Ovechkin and Crosby, but at that point, they're gonna break their hips out there. I'm scared.
Ovechkin just got a hat trick.
I know, but
Like he is.
how old
out-
is he?
40, I think.
Okay, like he's supposed
He's
to have.
either 39 or 40 because he was in the draft class before Crosby.
Okay.
Malkin's also looking better than Ovechkin is, and Malkin's older too. But he's listed as out. They've got 2 people on injured reserve, so the Islanders have 4 people on IR and 1 person out. It's Tony D'Angelo. He's a former Kane. I didn't particularly like him very much. He kind of seemed like a... Not gonna lie to you.
Oh, Detroit had Gibson in goal tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I love Gibby. He's probably gonna be my next one.
Their other goalie is out.
There he is.
Cam Talbot is... he's out.
Dang.
So, I think that's a pretty good summary of how the important teams are doing. No offense to the people that I deem not important.
Sorry, Rangers, you are not getting a shout out. Okay, and finally, to wrap things up, we're going to be talking about some of the most recent games with the playoff push right now. Every game matters, and just kind of what we think the standings are looking like, and who we think would win if we went with the brackets right now.
Fair warning, I'm going to say that the Carolina Hurricanes win.
I probably not.
I don't care how delusional I sound. I'll be completely unbiased for basically everything but the fact that the Carolina Hurricanes will be winning in my head, you know? It's just the truth of the matter.
No, that makes sense. I think looking at the schedule right now, today it is March 27th. It is Sunday. The 2 games that happened today were Red Wings versus Sabres and the Blackhawks versus the Rangers.
Did you just say that today was Sunday?
Today is Friday. I apologize. Holy shit, the Rangers won. 6-1.
Against Chicago. Chicago's not doing so
Sorry,
hot now,
we want to
too.
stay monetized. Holy. Wait, you
I
can bleep
can just
it. You can
bleep
bleep it. Editor, bleep me.
Oh God! Do not say that.
Okay, I'm so sorry. And then Detroit beat the Sabres 5-2. So shout out Gibby, but also
Shout out to the Red Wings for keeping them 2 games behind us in points.
and that also means that the Red Wings are absolutely in the fight for the wild card spot right now. That makes them tied with what, the Blackhawks or should?
Was it
Oh,
the
Senators. Sorry, I don't know why I said the
Senators.
Blackhawks.
They're tied with the Senators 1 point and 1 game behind the New York Islanders, which means that if any of these teams win or if any of these teams lose, then things could really be shaken up, especially considering the fact that they're technically tied at games played, but only 2 points behind the Boston Bruins. That wild card spot is up for grabs for anybody.
No, the Eastern wild card fight is just extremely intense. Now, complete opposite would be the Western Division right now.
The Western Division is
A bit of a misnomer because we're specifically talking about the Pacific Division. The Western Conference has some really good teams and also the Pacific Division. Who are
13 games yesterday.
not, yeah, there were so many games yesterday. I was trying to keep track of it all.
Montreal beat the Blue Jackets good.
The Blue Jackets are sneaky. I will say that.
Did you say stinky or
I said sneaky.
Sneaky. Yeah, they're sneaky.
We
Yes,
weren't
they
expecting.
stink.
We weren't expecting them to be.
The Blue Jackets are not a very, I would say, well broadcasted team from my mind, but they're doing well this season, and they'll come and they'll beat you, and that's really sad.
Ooh, Islanders beat Dallas, and then
Yeah. I'm really hoping that with the Sabres losing, we're closer to clinching a playoff spot.
another interesting thing is the Blues beat the Sharks in overtime, and it was really difficult for me to read who won, as it is STLSJS. These acronyms are getting wild, man.
I feel like it's pretty obvious that it's San Jose Sharks and St. Louis.
Dude, same with the Devils and the Predators. NJD versus NSH. I mean, Predators ended up winning.
Shout out to the Predators for their Pride Night. And also, I guess, Preds in the community. But more importantly, their Pride Night was very well done.
Ooh, Capitals and the Mammoth. They had a very high-scoring game. Oh, that was the Ovechkin
got
hat trick.
the hat trick
Mhm.
at probably 40.
That was 7-4. Anaheim beat Calgary. Edmonton beat the Golden Knights. And
The Golden Knights. Sorry.
unshockingly, the Kings had a shutout against Vancouver, 4-0. Sorry, Vancouver.
Sorry, Vancouver.
It sucks to suck.
The only two teams so far eliminated from the playoff contention are the Vancouver Canucks and the New York Rangers.
Editors cheer. Find the cheer button. There we go.
It's not that we hate the Rangers players, it's that we don't particularly like them coming to our arena and being kind of obnoxious.
For those of you not from North Carolina, I know there are hundreds of you watching right now. There's a lot of North Carolina trends. Laugh track, please, editor. There are a lot of transplants in North Carolina, especially you're going to see a lot of Rangers fans, Capitals fans,
Islanders fans,
Pittsburgh fans,
quite a few Buffalo fans. There was a surprising amount of Avalanche fans
and Utah, which is crazy because it's a newer team.
Yeah,
I did see somebody in an Arizona Coyotes jersey, and like I love that jersey. I'm so sad we don't have that.
Have you ever seen the there was a video of these people who were like switching like old jerseys and new jersey like logo
The color
colors.
schemes, yes.
The Utah Mammoth logo with the Arizona Coyotes. It's so much better.
It looked really cool.
No offense, I like the Utah Mammoth logo. It's one of the better logos.
And it's nice to have a team that's not red, white, and black.
It really is. But it just looked so much better in the Coyotes colors, and they need to make it that.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of the Mammoths, they are in the wild card spot for the Western Conference. Now, looking at what the playoff brackets will be right now. In the Western Conference, we got the first one will be Colorado versus Nashville. Then we got Dallas versus Minnesota.
Which, by the way, this matchup, it feels like every year it ends up being Dallas versus Minnesota. And it's like not fair, I would say, because these are two really competitive teams and they always end up duking it out. And one of them doesn't get to go on. And I feel like normally it's Minnesota loses.
Like, I would love to see those two fighting for the Western Conference Final.
Yes.
I mean, no, because then the Canes would have to go against them when the Canes inevitably win, obviously.
But I just feel like it's slightly unfair that Dallas and Minnesota are always up against each other.
Mm-hmm. Then we got Anaheim versus Utah and Edmonton versus the Golden Knights.
And I think that this one is really interesting because technically I feel like the Golden Knights are better, yes?
Barely.
Oh, no.
Right? No.
Oh, the Oilers are better. Sorry. I don't know why I thought the Golden Knights were better. The Oilers are not having as good of a season.
Are they having like coaching problems right now?
I don't actually know.
I heard that they were having coaching problems. I think there was one guy that spoke out about it a little bit, like not in a super, super dramatic way, but you know, if any player comments on their team's coaching in a negative light, that says a whole lot about the team itself.
It really is because hockey is a very like all for the team sport. You keep it to yourselves. But they're at 81 points and the top team in the league is at 106. So the Edmonton Oilers are not doing quite as well as you think that a Stanley Cup final team would be doing. They're certainly not the Panthers after the Stanley Cup final.
but I don't think that anybody can discount them out because I think that they are a playoff team. You can see it time and time again. They keep making it to the playoffs.
Now, speaking of teams that dominate in the playoffs, I'm switching over to the Eastern Conference. I'm worried for Buffalo because they haven't been in the playoffs since what?
2011?
2011, exactly. We have no clue if they're going to be able to actually maintain the speed at like playing these games in the playoffs, especially against Boston, which is going to be a like rough first round competitor, at least in my opinion.
Yes. Speaking of teams in the playoffs who are like playoff teams, Montreal may be young, but they took, I believe
They got a lot of gusto. Sorry.
But last year's playoffs, whoever it was that they were against in the first round, they had to get a wild card spot, but it took them 6 or 7 games to lose. And I think that they're probably going to do that again. They are a very good team despite being young. And I think that they are playoff ready because I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys are still the same from last season. So I think that people need to look out for them.
Ooh, the Bruins actually beat the Sabres in the last game they played.
Okay.
But it was in overtime. So I think that is going to be a really competitive, if the Bruins even make it to the playoffs, because once again, those wild card spots are being fought for like tooth and nail.
Mhm.
But if they do, I think that would be a really, really fun, what's the word? Round to watch, I guess. Yeah. That's going to be an interesting matchup.
What are the other matchups?
Other than that, currently we have Tampa Bay and Montreal, which either way, that's going to take out one strong team.
Like I said, Montreal, I think, is a really very competitive team, and I think that they are really good at like beating up on the team, not beating up, but like breaking down the team that they're up against. However, the Tampa Bay Lightning did just trade for Corey Perry, which means that they might end up in the Stanley Cup Finals, which I don't want to happen. We all know this, but Corey Perry.
And then we've also got Carolina Hurricanes versus whoever ends up in the second wildcard spot. Like I said, right now it could be like one of like 4 teams. Currently, it is the New York Islanders. But like I said, it's so up in the air right now. We have no clue who the Canes are going to be facing in what 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't. It's crazy.
And then last but not least, we have Pittsburgh versus the Blue Jackets. Once again, where in the world did Columbus come from? I feel like they haven't been.
I don't know if they are going to be playoff ready as well because I don't know if I've seen them in the playoffs.
When was the last time they were in the playoffs?
You look it up. Got it.
Okay.
While you're doing that, I'll talk about Pittsburgh. We played Pittsburgh 3 times in the last month.
I love you, Freddie Anderson.
And we did beat them every time.
With Anderson in goal, might I add.
We beat them in overtime, we beat them in a shootout, and we beat them in regulation. It took a lot, but I do think that we can beat them in a series. I think that it'll take a lot out of us. I think that they are a competitive team, but I think that we can do it. We lost to the Blue Jackets last time we were there, I believe.
Sorry. Yeah, we lost to the Blue Jackets last time we played them, but the last time the Blue Jackets were in the playoffs was the 2019-2020 season, where they ended up being eliminated in the first round against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we'll see. At least I think that's what it says, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how they do, especially...
I don't know if any of those guys were on that team at that time. I don't know who's good at what. We just don't know.
But we're going to see. I am really curious to see what happens with the Blue Jackets because I feel like I know how Pittsburgh plays. I've seen them play a lot. I've been to 5 games that they've been in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to expect from either the Islanders or the Blue Jackets. I don't think I've ever seen the Islanders play live before.
Yeah, I don't know how if I can. I really don't have that much of an impression of the Islanders team. I know that Matthew Schaefer is really good.
Anyways, I think right now, if we had to, you wanna go ahead and do what we think the winners will be of each round. Just completely guess based. Do you wanna go for? Okay. Well, let's go round by round. You want to start Western or Eastern?
Let's start Western.
Starting Western, Colorado versus Nashville.
Colorado's gonna win.
Absolutely.
I don't know if they're gonna win the Stanley Cup because they're probably gonna win the President's Trophy, and as most people know, I feel like that's bad luck.
But we'll see. They've been such a dominant team that it's hard to not rule them out, even if they win the Presidents. Now, Dallas versus Minnesota.
I don't know, but I think that because I think this will change if a lot of the Dallas players are less hurt, but I think right now I might pull for Minnesota just because
I want to see how their last game went. Okay, Minnesota won their last one, but it was another overtime game.
So I think that I'm gonna pull for Minnesota because I think it's their turn.
Ooh, they're playing each other on the 9th. Okay, I'll be watching that one. We're gonna see how that goes.
Definitely a big time thing. But they've got a bunch of people hurt. They've got like a lot of their big stars hurt. I think that Minnesota might pull forward, especially now, and I hate to say it, that they've got Quinn Hughes and just a lot of they've traded for Nick Foligno, the captain of the Blackhawks. They made a lot of moves right before, maybe not a lot of moves, but they made some moves right before the trade deadline that I think might pull them through.
Didn't they have like some of the most movement around the trade deadline?
Yeah, it was really not a very interesting trade deadline, I will say.
It was really boring, but that's okay because I mean, the boring is safe. Honestly, I think I'm gonna pull for Dallas. I think that even though they have a lot of people out, they've once again been able to maintain that second spot in just such a competitive division, unlike the Pacific Division, that I think that they have a really good fighting chance. I think that's going to be a super duper competitive. I keep forgetting the words. Round? Yeah, round.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is gonna be the first time that I'm like watching Western Conference games just for fun. Then we have Anaheim and Utah.
I have no clue what to say here.
Honestly, I'm thinking Utah might pull through.
Yeah, I think I just like Utah more. I think that Anaheim's got Radko Gudas or whatever his name is, and he's kind of a and so some of my opinions are just like generally kind of like
Not rooting for the team because we think they suck.
Yeah, I don't like you. So I think that I'm gonna pull for Utah here. I think that I'll definitely pay attention to the games going forward for both of them. And maybe my opinion will change. But for now, Utah's the way to go.
And after getting to see Utah play, especially for such they're like the newest team, right?
Yes.
I was talking to my dad about going to that game. He looked at me and said, "Who were the Mammoth?" I think that they've really made a name for themselves being so young and being able to make it in that wild card spot. I think that they're going to try and show everybody like who they are. I think that this is going to be once again, another really competitive one. I do think that they're going to pull through against Anaheim. And then Oilers versus Golden Knights. Oilers.
Yeah, I think that the Oilers are a playoff team. And also, I hate the Golden Knights just in general.
We're not Golden Knights fans.
No offense to people who are. I don't hate you. I hate your team.
And Vegas.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to the East. Okay, do we want to keep going from there? Or do we want to stop with the first round? Let's stop with the first round because once again, things are going to change. Once we get those actual teams that are going to be in the playoffs, we'll make full brackets. We'll post them, everything like that. Eastern Conference, Buffalo, Boston. I don't know where it's going to go.
I think for the Eastern Conference, the only thing that I can conclusively say is that the Carolina Hurricanes are going to make it to round 2. And I might just have to leave it at that. Because it's just so tight over here in the Eastern Conference.
So many, I can see like a good number of changes being made, especially in those wildcard spots before the playoffs happen.
It's just hard to conclusively tell.
If I just had to completely guess, I'm going to say Boston beats Buffalo unless Buffalo ends up starting really strong. Because once again, we haven't seen Buffalo in the playoffs in actually forever. It'll be really interesting to see how they do. I'm hoping they do well.
And we don't know how they do on home versus away games because the way that this is going to end up, Buffalo will have home ice advantage for those first 2 games. And maybe they win those first 2 but completely fall apart in the next 2. And we just don't know. Or maybe they're worse at home. It's just completely up
I
in the
get
air.
a feeling there's not a lot of Buffalo fans in Boston, if I had to guess.
Probably not, no.
Now, Tampa Bay and Montreal. I think this is going to be kind of close again. Another very close one. Shoot, I think Tampa Bay might make it.
I think Tampa Bay will probably
really
win.
Nice getting to see the Eastern Conference lineup without the Panthers in it.
I think that Montreal is really young, and I think that Tampa Bay is full of like solid guys, and I think that
Tampa Bay is just stable.
Yeah.
I think that you can definitely compare Montreal to Utah in like the kind of newer energy.
Except for the fact that Montreal is absolutely not a new team
They're
in
not
any
a new
way, shape,
team.
or form.
I know that, but like they're like, you know what I mean.
I mean, yes, they are on average, they are the youngest team. Their average age is 25 years old, which is crazy.
So they're going to be doing the same thing, trying to make a name for themselves in the playoffs. Except I don't know if it's going to work out for them. I think we're going to have to see what happens.
I'm really excited to see what Nick Suzuki and I mean, gosh, they have so much young talent over there. It's like Lane Hudson, and then that other guy, and then the other guy. Guys, I promise.
And the other one, of course.
I remember all their names when I'm actually watching the thing. It's like, oh yeah, I recognize that guy as a threat. Like, and I'm gonna butcher this. Like, Juraj Slavkovsky was first overall, I believe.
We're gonna learn the names, I promise.
That's what the deep dive is for.
Now, Carolina and Islanders. I gotta give it to Carolina.
You have
just
to.
as a fan, and also it's the Islanders.
The Islanders didn't even make the playoffs last year. So what is different this year?
I'm glad it's the Islanders and not the Rangers.
God, I hate them.
We don't like the Rangers fans. No, some of them, yes. Now, some Rangers fans are definitely nice.
Yeah.
I have had some negative interactions with them before, especially on the internet.
Parker's really, really good at arguing with people.
Especially Rangers fans after that Keandre Miller trade. I just think I'm getting completely sidetracked here. It was really funny getting to watch all of the Rangers fans go have fun with Keandre Miller, and then for the Rangers being the first in the Eastern to get eliminated, and Keandre Miller to be a genuinely pretty dominant defenseman on the Carolina Hurricanes, completely excluding the game that they just gave up against the goal that he gave up against Montreal last game. That was
bullshit.
It was really bad. Now, the last one, Pittsburgh versus the Blue Jackets. I think that Pittsburgh is just stable enough to pull through, but I'm curious to see how the Blue Jackets do.
Yeah, I think it'll just be really interesting.
And those are our thoughts on the standings right now. Okay, I think that's probably where we're going to have to cut it today. I think we're already pushing 45 minutes to an hour.
Yes, you are.
It's getting pretty late, guys. We started pretty late. Yeah.
So, thank you to the hundreds and hundreds of viewers for tuning into our very first episode. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. There's gonna be a lot more to come, especially as playoffs are, like, starting to really kick off. I think that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna try and get to as many playoff games as possible. We can do a blog!
We're gonna
Editor,
vlog.
can we blog?
Vlog?
Vlog, yeah, vlog.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've got some stuff planned for the off season already.
We're gonna bring in
Episodes will be a lot shorter, I promise.
so many non-hockey fans will be brought in to give their insight. But once again, my name is Parker.
My name is Emily.
And as they say in hockey,
Let's do that hockey.
thank you and goodbye.
Good night.
Yay! Girl, what? Okay, sorry.